As a hairstylist who owns multiple multi-million-dollar companies, in this podcast, I'm talking to hairstylists and salon owners who are ready to put in the work to build wealth. We are literally teaching stylists how to get results. We're getting them to get results on how to make more money behind the chair and to create their own empires. It's what you know that you don't know that you need to know in order to get to where you want to go. Because I understand now that in order for me to get to my targets and my big goals and be able to impact 500,000 stylists all over the world and 400 plus salon owners and helping them run an efficient business that they don't feel like they're babysitting anymore, that they feel like they know how to scale it because they have the right information. We get to touch this magic every day of giving people the confidence of hair, but truly it's how do we be more impactful and understanding. My name is Terra Harvell and this is the Terra Harvell Show. All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Terra Harvell Show. But if you were watching on YouTube or maybe even seeing a clip on social media, it looks a little different, a little better. It's giving business is making more money and being more profitable so we can buy new chairs and new set and new office building.
Sure.
So we have a new look and it's really exciting for us because we're excited to film so many valuable things in this setting for you guys. But we are kicking off a brand new series, and this series is going to be super valuable to our audience because we are answering the burning question of basically how I have been able to do what I've done, which our little punchline that people keep hearing, and that's why people keep listening, is hairstylist turned millionaire. And so we're going to give you guys a massive series, and I'm going to bring in those key people that are able to explain how we got to where we are and why we're doing what we're doing so that you guys can hopefully arrange and re-engineer your business to do the same thing. So, or work with us even better. But speaking of bringing in other people, I have a guest here. If you are watching, you already see him. His name is Dawson Floyd. He is our Director of Legal and Business Strategy. So welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
Is this your first podcast ever?
This is the first podcast ever, and I do consume a lot of podcasts, but this is the first one I'll ever have spoken on.
Are you going to listen to yourself after we film this?
Probably not. I hate my voice, so.
Fun fact, I never listened to myself back ever. I used to early on when I was really terrible at public speaking. Now I'd never listen to it because I also hate my voice, but.
It's almost like, you know, you watch those old Christmas videos that your grandma put on at Christmas, and you're like, do I really sound like that? And no, that's probably what it would be like for me.
Well, back in that day, I probably sounded like a little hick. So anyways.
What changed?
Well, do I still sound like that?
No,
I feel like I've gotten.
Absolutely not.
I thought I got rid of my Southern accent a little bit.
You're pretty Midwestern at this point, the average accent.
Nice. So, okay. Yeah. Also, what's in your cup? Because it's awfully dark.
It is black coffee, 8 ounces, mixed with a Coke Zero. So,
okay.
Drink of choice.
Is that what attorneys drink? Is that like a thing?
Yeah, that is not something many other people drink, but it got me through the bar, so that's why I still drink it.
Coffee and Coke Zero?
Coffee and Coke, a lot of it. Yeah, it's like gasoline for me. So
it just gets weirder by the day.
Yeah.
No, I do want to talk about Dawson for just a little bit because he has, about a year ago now. Is this your anniversary yet?
June 10th will be my anniversary.
It's
so
like
what is that,
away.
4 days?
Yeah.
It's today the 6th.
So you've been officially on the inside of our company for a year. Mm-hmm. And about a year before that, you were working in a firm.
Don't short it. It was at least a year and a half.
Okay, yeah, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And he was, of course, like most business owners do, I was outsourcing all of my legal work, contracts, and stuff like that. And so he got a good taste of this industry and, kind of what we were trying to do. Although since you've come on board, the vision has just exploded and also changed a ton. And we'll talk about that. But, got a little taste of like what goes on inside of this industry. And I think that's probably what piqued your interest to work for Harper Ellis. And now he is, on the inside. He's with us full time. He's my full-time attorney, not because we're in any lawsuits or anything.
Zero.
Actually zero. So we try to stay out of those. But what he does do really well, and it's kind of crazy because I'm sure you're already thinking, okay, great, attorney, you can do all these contracts, you can do all this legal work. But what Dawson is really, really good at, and every single day I have a new thought. I'm like, God, this guy is so good at business strategy, planning, and engineering. I think engineering is probably the best word of how the vision comes to life. And I think, as you're growing a business, and you guys, salon owners listening to this especially, you kind of get in your like cave of building a business where it's hard to sometimes see from the outside, and it's hard to, we seek mentorship and all those things, but it's sometimes nice to have someone come in and go, well, why are you overcomplicating things? Because I think that's what people do. And I think that's their biggest like thing with success is they overcomplicate success. Wouldn't you say?
That is probably the single biggest thing that I have learned since working in any capacity for you. And it's kind of bled into my personal life as well, because I'm an analytical person. And it's just my nature. We talk about R3s and personality assessments, et cetera, in our business. And I have a high analyzer. You're a high driver, which is awesome to work for. It's a good blend. It's like, oil and vinegar makes good salad dressing. But point is, everybody, not drivers, not just drivers, not analyzers, influencers, et cetera, we all tend to overcomplicate a target, a goal, et cetera. And it can pretty much just boil down to, what's the idea? How do we go execute? And, I used to believe that there's some grand strategy behind everything. And there is a lot of thinking. There is a lot of intentionality. There is a lot of careful planning and thoughtfulness. But it's all centered around pretty simple goals. And the quicker you can simplify, I think the quicker that you can run.
Yeah,
So.
I love that, because it's exactly what we're doing. And I think that's why the whole Harper Ellis empire is just exploding fast. And that's because like we finally have this momentum of we're not making it harder than it should be. And so I want to go, let's spend this episode talking about what you and I usually spend the daily talking about.
Fighting?
And fighting about.
Yeah.
Like we fight a lot. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a real fight. But
She always wins.
But true. But what I love about, like, going back to having that outside opinion, and it's just because he's come from another business world, a lot of real estate, of course, another law firm. And so seeing a lot of different businesses. And the thing about business, and I want to say this before we dive into all the details, because this single episode will be one of the most valuable episodes for salon owners and hairstylists to get to where they want to go. We will probably make a lot of people uncomfortable, because we tend to do that sometimes, and that is never our intention, which I will hit more on that. But this will be so incredibly valuable. So I really want you to start it off. What is that burning question? What is the thing that you said to me week 1 of your employment inside of our business? What was that? Because that's...
So I come in and you're like, I think it was like day 3, and you bring me this TikTok or reel or something, and we won't name names right now. And since that time, this person's perspective has completely changed since they got educated. The deal was like, you're showing me this misinformation that's being put out there on TikTok and reels about specifically classification in the industry, 1099 W-2 talk, etc. And that was my first foray into how, and I don't mean this derogatorily, emotional this industry is, and how fired up people get when people take a stance one way or the other, and about everybody else's business model instead of worrying about their own. And it really shocked me. So I think I said to you, like, where does this emotion, this vitriol come from, and this animosity towards everybody else? Why is everybody worried about what the business is doing down the street instead of fixing the problems within their own business? I think that was my question to you.
Yeah. So, and I think like him asking me this question was a massive turning point inside of our education, because I've always had sort of a stance on business and how salons are ran specifically, because the salon industry, I'll just say it out loud, makes me feel super icky. And I'm a decade into being an educator, and I've kept my mouth shut for a decade. And, and a lot of that comes with, let's not be, secretive about this process, because this entire series is literally how I became a hairstylist and a millionaire. And just to say that out loud, understand that those two things don't go together. And I think that's where I want people to understand, like, you can't just be a hairstylist and a millionaire. The math doesn't math. You can't do that. And so back to what you had asked me week 1, you were hitting on like the emotion. And that's something that I think the reason I talk a lot about it now is because I naturally am just not an emotional person. Like, I don't know why. I sometimes wish I could be. Especially when it comes to business, I can just see it for what it is. I don't get my feelings hurt when my mentors, you've been on calls plenty of times where I've been roasted by our mentors, and it's, I sort of take it up the ass and I sort of move on and I do my thing and I fix the thing that I'm being roasted on, because I think that's just the ability that most business owners, and what I've learned too is a lot of successful business owners have that, like they don't have to get so emotional about the thing. They can just like listen to the feedback and go fix said thing, right? And so I think that is just the industry gets extremely emotional because we're emotion driven, because no one looks at the numbers, because we're not trained to do so. I want to stay on that for just a second. It's this whole booth rental versus commission fight that this industry is in. And I think people watching this, I'm just going to say it right now, I think both structures are extremely irresponsible for a stylist to go into and for a salon owner to run.
And I think it's even beyond that, because there's kind of four concepts to this. You mentioned booth rental versus commission. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there that if you're booth rental, you must be 1099, which generally is true. You are a 1099 worker if you are renting a booth. And if you're commission, you can't be 1099 or can't be W-2 or whatever, whatever's out there. There's a million different opinions out there. And a lot of people are spouting off a lot of information about things that they haven't studied, things that they haven't fact-checked, things that they haven't gone and put the work in to learn. And that's my biggest beef. I don't have social media currently. May have to get it just because of the impact that I want to make with our business and for the people out there that we want to help. But my biggest issue with social media, and really just all media in general, whether it's any news channel or, national or local, is misinformation. And a lot of people just don't fact check or do the homework. So there's a lot of people spouting off, well, if you are commission, you must be W-2 worker. It's impossible to make 1099. And that's maybe true, but it's such a nuanced conversation at that point in time. There are so many factors that go into it. And all of a sudden, we're now trading blows back and forth across social media about what's the proper way to run a business, instead of just setting the target to hit it and figuring out the best way to do it.
When both structures suck.
When both structures suck. Because it puts a cap on how any structure can win.
Right.
So you have smartly gone out to innovate and disrupt an industry that's fighting about something so totally irrelevant, because it's capping everybody in it, with a new model that, I've been lucky enough to work with, and we're still every day innovating and building out. Mm-hmm. We're just on the tip of the iceberg of how great this thing can be. And now we're going to implement it across the United States and across the globe and literally drive wealth to the individual stylists themselves, while salon owners win too. Because the reason people get so emotional is
because they're losing.
And people think, okay, I'm a 1099 stylist, I get to win more now because the salon doesn't keep as much, so the house doesn't win as much. Or I'm a commission salon stylist, so the house wins more because I'm splitting 50-50, 45-55, whatever that split is. And that's the wrong way to think. Yeah. The right way to think is, how can we all win together? And I think we've nailed how that is.
All about the numbers. And you guys listening to this podcast, I will prove to you that likely the way that you're running your business, whether you are a stylist or you are the owner, it sucks.
Yeah.
But I want to before we go there, because I want to talk about something that, if you want to bring emotion into it, if I do have emotion, this is my emotion. Can I share my emotions? So, we with Harper Ellis, we have scaled and grown because we sell premium hair extensions, the highest quality. I can prove that every time. We have the stats. It's
Test
not just
them if you haven't.
That's also not an emotional statement. That's actually data. We have a 0.002% return rate on our hair, which is absolutely unheard of inside of this industry.
Our insurance providers are like, what? And
yeah.
we're like, yeah, no, real.
It's a real thing. And so, we've scaled because of that product. And so Harper Ellis Hair Company, and that's kind of why we've taken this podcast and a lot of my messaging out of Harper Ellis, because at the end of the day, Harper Ellis is a great product company that supports stylists. I don't give a shit if you are a booth rental salon owner, if you're a commissioned salon owner, if you're a booth rental stylist, if you're a commissioned stylist, if
a suite,
if
whatever.
you are working in your gosh damn kitchen, I don't give a shit. My goal with Harper Ellis Hair Company is to bring great quality products to the stylist to set you up for success so that you can scale your business. But Terra Harvell's goal is very, very different. And so that's where I do bring emotion into business. And it's why I've silenced myself for 10 years, is because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. Like, that's not ever my goal. And we have a massive client list with Harper Ellis of all over the board, lots of booth rental salon owners. And honestly, probably more of those than commissioned salon owners. Because, and I'll talk about why that is, because our industry in the last decade has taken a massive turn of worshiping this freedom talk. That's something that drives me absolutely crazy, because you cannot tell me that if you own a booth rental salon, you have the freedom. That you're still dealing with the same people problems commissioned salon owners deal with.
Opportunity cost for other things. You're trading one set of stressors for another. You're trading one set of issues for another.
Exactly. And so, and then same as being a booth rental stylist, like, you do not, that is not freedom, that you have to go do every step and every process inside of your business yourself in order for you to probably not even know if you're even profitable because you keep shitty books.
Or don't keep books.
So there's just so many problems, and this episode could get so long. It's probably going to be a longer one anyway, but this episode could get so long because there's just so many elementary problems inside this industry. But where I want to make sure that before we dive into this...
Can I push back on that for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. So she said elementary problems, and by and large they are. But I don't want this industry to feel like these are problems that only this industry faces. These are business problems across the board. It doesn't matter if you're in construction, real estate, property management, running a salon, you have a barber shop, you've got a tire shop. These are serious problems that every business faces.
Yeah.
This industry is not alone in it. What this industry has that others don't is that pure emotion and readiness to fight about it instead of just figure it out. So I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to give a little color commentary to that.
Well, I think the reason why I say elementary is because I'm on the other side of worrying about that emotion.
Right.
I'm just like, why are y'all caught up? You're caught up in the thing that will never make you money. Yeah. You're caught up in the thing that will never move the needle in your business. And that's why I think I get so... it feels like a fight on the elementary playground. With that, my goal is to never make someone feel like I'm telling them that they're doing it wrong just for the fun of it.
Right.
Do I love to tell people that, hey, you should change this in your business because you are doing it wrong? Yes. But do people want to listen to me? No. We had oh my gosh, let's talk about the lady what did she call me? She texted Lena via customer service, and she said she called me a name because she didn't like my messaging inside the education portal. She, I looked further into it, and do you remember what it was, Kaylee? She called me something, and it was like she didn't like my messaging inside of the portal because she didn't like what I had to say, because I was talking to people exactly like her, informing her of why her business is a failing cycle.
She felt targeted.
Yes,
is what she said in the message.
And so that's where I want people to hear me loud and clear. Listen, if you fully believe that you're winning, and you really believe that, and you're good with where you're at, and you have no other goals to grow, I want people to understand, stay where you're at, and I will cheerlead you over here. That's fine with me. I don't care. But where I get I think people get a little, even our best customers sometimes, I think that they secretly sometimes hate my messaging because it doesn't align with where they're at. And I am fine with that. I just can't lay my head down at night not talking about these things, because this is where the industry fails. Let's start with the stylist. As a stylist, if you choose to go be a booth rental stylist, it is the most irresponsible thing you can do inside of your business. If you are a stylist and you choose to go be a commission stylist, it is also the most irresponsible thing that you can do.
Sounds like a catch-22.
It is. And so the unfortunate part, and this is where sometimes we look at each other. The other day I screamed through the wall. His office is next to mine, and our walls are paper thin. We have to whisper when we're talking about each other. But I literally said, we are fighting a losing battle. It feels like that some days. because it is so hard to get the hairstylist and the salon owner to think differently. And it's like we fight that constantly because they want to stay, it's the belief lid.
We're fighting 150 years of doing business the same way.
Right.
There are no disruptors. There are no innovators in this industry.
Right. So if you're listening to this and I have your attention, which I probably do if I've already told you the way that you are doing business is very irresponsible, let me help you understand why. You guys, it's simple math. It's not even up for argument. You have 24 hours in the day. That's why what you're doing is so irresponsible. Because
can't create time.
You can't create time, and you can only see so many clients, and you can only charge, whether that, let's just pretend that charge is $1 million an hour. Let's just say that. And you had, which in one day you made $24 million.
Impossible. Nobody's working 24 hours in
No,
a day.
I know. I'm just, I agree. But I want to, this point is like, you still have a capped business.
Yeah. You can only make $24 million that day.
And ever.
Yeah.
In your entire life. Like you will never wake up one day and there will be more hours in the day. So you're probably listening. You're like, okay, then what the fuck do I do? Like, what do you mean? Okay. Number one, I want stylists to understand that if you are not at least breaking 6 figures in revenue, this is not a problem of yours today. This is a long-term problem of yours. This is not a problem of yours today. If you don't know how to even produce great revenue behind the chair, and for the record, for those of you that are listening to this and you don't know me, I was able to produce $750,000 in revenue working 4 days a week behind the chair with one assistant. I did that with extensions.
Can I clue into a word right there, though?
Yeah.
She's saying revenue, and I think this industry sometimes equates revenue with income, and those are two vastly different things. You know, we are collecting this amount. Income is like take home.
Yeah.
So
my take home was about $430,000.
Yeah.
At its
incredible.
peak.
Congratulations for you. Sometimes I wonder why you didn't stay there.
Okay,
but,
so that's the best. That's the next best question.
Yeah.
So the reason why I didn't stay there is because I still was trading 8 hours a day, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And I would never be able to make more than $430,000 in income a year. Now,
how long could you have sustained that pace? That
right.
Even took that
so I would have already been done knowing now at 34 years old what health problems I've had this year. Mm-hmm. I would have had to stop. And I think, you know, at that time when I was at that peak, I had just met my husband. And, you know, when we got married, we, you know, like everybody does, it's like, do we have kids? Do we not have kids? We weren't sure for a while. And then we came to this conclusion of like, okay, let's have children. And life, you know, starts to change. And that's when things sort of started to hit me of like, okay, this is a great gig. Don't get me wrong. And hairstylists are so lucky to have this. Like, that's why I love this industry but we're talking high level stuff here. And those of you that are listening to this, if I have lost your attention because I'm saying we're talking high level stuff here, and I say you should not be worried about this because you're not making 6 figures in revenue, you are the problem. You are the reason why you will be poor forever. Is because you're already thinking you don't have a mindset that you can reach these this amount of goals and level and this amount of success. And you couldn't be more wrong because there's nothing special about me. I just was willing to go figure it out and listen to people that are honestly outside of this industry, because you can't find people in this industry that are having this kind of conversations because people don't understand. And people outside of this industry has helped me understand that business that we do inside this industry is just really fucked up. And so making that much money, I could not sustain it. I honestly, I had bladder issues. Like there was a lot of health things that came about even while staying, because I was taking 9 extension clients a day, sometimes mixing color clients in between. But I was so after the dollar. I mean, truth be told, you know, in the middle of that, I had a bunch of credit card debt. I had a BMW that the transmission was about to go out. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It was just like a moment of sink or swim. And I decided to swim. And so that's how I got to that level behind the chair. And sure, is it great? Yes, but that was not long term. And nothing in this industry that we set up for ourselves are. No one builds a legacy salon. And when I say legacy salon, I'm not talking about salons that you pass down to your children, because your children don't give a shit about what you're doing.
No, I worked in a lot of essentially winding up businesses, closing them down, closing up shop at the end of several multimillionaires' lives before coming here, simply because kids don't want to do what mom wants them to do, or what mom is doing, or dad. And
sometimes they do.
Sometimes, but the percentage is low.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And so when I say legacy salon, I'm not talking about like, oh, one that is, no, because like there'll always be a turnover. There'll always be new people. People age out of this career of standing behind the chair. And so This is what I'm talking about. And I hope the people that I worked with back in the day don't listen to this because I love them dearly. But, when I was married to my ex-husband, I worked in a very, very small town salon where I was the youngest by 30 years. And one lady, she was the owner. I mean, she's 70. And she's taking clients because she probably maybe has to. I really don't know her financial situation. I don't really care. But like that is because she followed what this industry does. Yeah. And that
you work until there's no time left to work.
Right. And this is why I have a hard time and an issue with this industry, because no one's planning, and because no one ever thinks they're going to get old. No one ever thinks they're going to get hurt. No one ever thinks, any of those things are going to happen. So that's why I'm such an advocate for this structure and what we've done. And I know it's different. I know we're fighting a big battle. I don't think it's a losing battle. But this is why I think booth rental salons suck. There, I said it.
And regular commission salons.
And regular commission salons who hire stylists and they give them a commission and maybe even give them a way to raise their commission. They also suck. And so I want to read this post I saw yesterday, and I want to hear your thoughts. It's funny because we planned to, shoot this today. It was a TikTok, and her TikTok said, booth rental felt like freedom until it didn't. That was the screen.
Yeah.
And then this was her caption. She said, at first, I was so proud to fill my chairs. I felt like I had made it. How many times have we heard that inside of our community?
Thousands.
But the longer I stayed in the rental model, the more I started feeling like a landlord, not a salon owner.
Yeah.
But what I love about this girl, she explains why. I had people asking for education, mentorship, and structure. But when I tried to give it, no one showed up. Or they'd say they didn't need it. Or they'd leave halfway through. I wanted to build a team, but I was running a space. And no matter how much I cared or how much I gave, the model I built wasn't set up for what I actually wanted. What changed everything? I switched to employee base. I mean, you kind of know the end of that story. But this is where I think people are so crazy, is they think that because they have this really great team that gets along, that they have a team.
Yeah, no, that's not what that means.
And I want everyone to just quickly go to ChatGPT and type in, let me just do it for this podcast. What is the real definition of a team?
So while you're doing this, I kind of want to touch on a point you said. So this woman was booth renting, right? And it's not unlike an attorney out in private practice. Most attorneys are 1099 workers running their own business inside a firm's business. Some of them are employees, right? But the industries are vastly similar in structure, like historically, if you study them. And it's really interesting. Like, the reason I left private practice is it literally boils down to I felt like I was on an island, right? By myself.
But you were capped.
I was capped for the time trading for money,
just
not
like
unlike a
hairstylist.
stylist.
Yeah.
And the only way to reach greater heights was truly to collaborate with a team.
Yeah.
And that's why I came to Harper Ellis, is because you offered me that opportunity on a team.
Yeah.
And that goes to the heart of what this woman is saying in that message. Is she reached a cap, a hard cap on what she could do by herself. And she needed others to keep the rocket ship going up, because there's a bunch of jobs that have to be done, and there's a bunch of teamwork that has to happen. So you probably got your ChatGPT search done.
So the definition of a team is a group of individuals with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose. Capital COMMON. Did I spell that right?
I think so.
Capital COMM.
She's got a problem with spelling. But.
I said I could run multi-million-dollar businesses, not spell.
You pay people to spell for you?
Yeah, I've always thought the kids in the spelling bees were just like, what a fucking waste of time. Like, get your ass over here.
They're usually really smart, and they turn out to be doctors.
Capital COMMON.
Yeah, that's
common goal. You guys, when you're in a booth rental setting or you're in a commission setting, there is no common goal. Like, what is the common goal? So each individual stylist makes money?
I mean, I'm speechless, because that is the answer to that question.
Yeah, that's not a common goal where each individual person has a cool, cutesy place to work in that have new shampoo bowls.
Think about why they get mad. Why does a booth renter get mad? Well, because their rent's too high. They don't want to pay, the booth rent salon owner. They aren't being provided enough support, all this other stuff. Not a common goal. Why does a commission stylist get mad? Well, the house is making too much. The house being the salon. I'm splitting too much. My split's not good enough. I'm not achieving as much as I think I should be. Again, it goes back to there is no shared common goal to go achieve together that brings that alignment.
Yeah. Okay. So this next part's really going to bust everybody's balls.
Great.
Because the next part says shared performance goals. That's a definition of a team. Shared performance goals.
We win and lose together.
And mutual accountability.
Yeah.
You guys are fucking delusional. Like that is not what a team is when you build a business based off of everyone's individual narrative. And like we become so obsessed, and here's why. Here's where I'll wrap this up. I actually have, and Kaylee, I want you to clip this because there's someone here local that I would love to like roast the shit out of because she deserves it. And it's actually the owner of one of our local cosmetology schools. Let me just tell you the story.
Okay.
I've been told for years that, and this is hearsay, I would love to have a conversation with this human because I've never actually
on the podcast.
I've never actually had a conversation. Oh, that would be a good idea. I've never actually
settle this beef once and for all.
PR's back there going, hell no. But I would love to chat with her because I have heard through is it the grapevine or the grapevine? The grapevine.
I'll let you decide.
I have heard that she hates commission salons. So now that didn't come from her mouth, and I've never heard it come from her mouth. So I give said person benefit of the doubt.
But we've heard it from students that have gone through.
Yeah, we've heard a bunch of students come to us like, our owner has always said, do not go work for a commission salon because you won't make money. And so I sent out Carrie, who is our manager of operations via Salon. She's helping us build out 400 franchises. And I sent her out to the local schools because we are recruiting here in Fort Smith at our location. And I was like, go tell them that I'm willing to send Kirsten and Creighton, who are two stylists who they're doing around Creighton's doing about $360 in revenue. Kirsten's doing $260 in revenue. And so they're making well over six figures. The top 1% of this industry. I know the stats, all the things, right? And I told them, I was like, hey, I'm willing to send you guys and literally lose money.
Yeah.
Them also lose money to go to our local schools and chat with cosmetology students there so that we could, number one, recruit, but number two, I want people to start understanding what's out there. So she went to one school and they were so excited. They were like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Please tell us when. We would love to have you. And then the other one, the owner wouldn't meet with Carrie, which is fine. I understand that. People don't get to walk in my office and have meetings with me. Absolutely not. But she did give her a phone number and so that she could follow up. So this is Carrie's message. Carrie was like, hey, blank, won't say your name. You're welcome. My name is Carrie and I'm the operations director at Harper Ellis Salon. I stopped by the school today and I think you may have been in a meeting, so I wanted to follow up with a quick message. I'd love to connect with you about the possibility of having a couple of our lead stylists from our salon visit to speak with your students about the assistant program opportunities we have. Please let me know if this is something you would be open to discussing. I'd love to chat further. Her response, by the way, 3 hours later, which is fine. I also don't respond to people sometimes for days. I'm literally giving the benefit of the doubt to this lady. She literally says, I need to think about this for a minute, period. That's it. Never responded again, never followed up after that. Like, it's fine if it's weird that you need to think out loud and tell people you need to think about shit, but yeah, whatever. So, but the deal is like, she's got a target on her back from me already because I've already heard from so many stylists, students that have gone through her program, how she like just absolutely hates on Harper Ellis Salon.
Confirmation she's got some preconceived biases towards your salon.
And this is why this industry is so damn dangerous, because we have owners like that in charge of students, it's like having a bunch of kids, you know,
who have no clue, who have no reason to know how business should be done. Right. They are educating them on a certain way, giving them a bias immediately, which will cap them long term. Irresponsible.
But let me put this in perspective. You're taking bias from biases, right? You're taking biases. Lawyer, is that the term?
It's plural for bias, yeah.
You're taking biases from teachers who don't have the stat.
Who've never done the thing.
Who have never done the thing that you're going to learn to do, right? And so that is what blows my mind, and that's what's so dangerous, because people aren't aware of who they should listen to.
And that's not to say there aren't good instructors out there. That's not the point of this conversation. The point is it is dangerous whenever you have never achieved something to try to teach on how to achieve something great.
But let's not get emotional about it, because let's walk the walk. So the reason why this is insane to me is I have 2 students right now that are, what are they, 5, 6 months out of school, graduation date.
Yeah.
One does around $8,000 in revenue per month.
2 days a week.
Working 2 days a week.
Yeah, 2 full days by themselves.
She's 8 months at most out of school. She has over 50 clients on her client list. She's already building a brand via social media with amazing interaction. That's why you don't listen to people like that, because you cannot tell me that that is normal for her graduating students. I know it's not normal.
It's not, but the majority of people that are graduating from there, regardless of whether they're going booth rent or commission salon, aren't getting in a support system that helps people grow and hit the targets that they want to hit.
Right. And so neither does your booth rental salon.
No.
You can't, because
but let's distill it to the basic.
And neither does your commission
salon. Neither does your salon.
Just salon.
Just the normal salon, whether it's booth rent or commission. They don't do this.
Yeah. So the thing is like where, and I add commission salon on that too, because a lot of them don't have great programs and they don't, have their training set up. In which, hey, you guys, like, I also want to like stop for a minute. If your blood pressure is raising and you're like, man, I really fucking hate Terra, understand that, like, don't lose the fact, if you don't know my story, I'm here to tell you. 1 year my salon was $8 profitable. $8 damn dollars, not 10, but 8. I couldn't even buy a Starbucks coffee.
But even on that, so your salon profited $8. How many actual wealthy stylists were within that salon too? Probably not as much as there are now.
Oh no, definitely not what there are now.
The growth was different for people.
Yeah, but I will tell you, I was irresponsible in setting up my business and the processes, and I was at one point paying out 70% commission.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I didn't know how
that math doesn't.
Because I didn't know how to run a business. So like and we'll wrap up this episode. I hope you're listening. You will listen to episode 2, because now we're going to bring it full circle as the whys behind it. But if you don't already understand the whys, but the reason why I would never open up a booth rental salon is because, number one, I'm capped as the owner. I physically, unless I raise a rent or open a second location and a third location, the numbers, it would take several locations for that number to get to the millions. Yeah. And don't fucking sit here behind when you're listening to this in your car and you're watching this on YouTube and be like, oh, well, my goal is not to make millions of dollars, Terra. Yeah, you're a liar, because that's not true. And you're just battling me with that because you probably
think you can't.
Exactly. And so the thing is like, you're capped as the owner, but then also you cap your people. I would never be a stylist that I physically, unless I go out and open a business, that I physically cannot make money, because there's only 24 hours in the day, or more money, I'm sorry. There's only 24 hours in the day. I can only charge a certain amount of money. And now don't cap your belief lid there, because I saw Linson Hair, one of the influencers in this industry, he charges $800 for highlights. So like, put in the work. I mean, this isn't a today problem for you. If you're a booth rental stylist or if you're a commission stylist, this isn't a today problem. Like, you need to put in the work and go build your brand on social media so you can raise your prices, and then you need to get really fast at said thing that you're doing, and you need to do only high ticket services. That's how I was able to make the amount of money that I did behind the chair. If you're not doing any of those things, this is a long-term talk for you. This is not a today talk. Stay where you're at and work your ass off.
But this should be the goal.
Yes. But the thing is like, I could never, as a salon owner, walk into my salon, and I did for many years. That's why my business is different, because I had a hard time laying my head down at night, because I knew that every single human being inside of my building was capped, and they could physically never make more money, no matter how hard they worked, no matter how amazing they become, and no matter really what they did, unless they left me and opened their own business. And that's what we're going to get into in episode 2 of this series, is why we do what we do and why it's different. And I want to teach you guys people pay me $25,000, by the way, to learn what we're about to talk about. And so I want to help you guys understand why you should deconstruct your business. But the problem is, most of you guys won't watching this, which is fine. That's why I'm here to give you the information for free, because you won't, because you're so stuck on, but my stylists like their freedom. I want to make sure that they don't leave. All of my booths are full, and they might leave. If I come in and make them do something that's hard, everyone will leave. And that's where I get really wild and crazy and I crash out, because I don't
challenge
understand.
You. Have you ever asked them what they want, or are you just assuming?
Right. Because I guarantee you, if you went to them and said, hey, I have a way that you can actually start to make a lot of money without you ever standing behind the chair, while also taking over the world with me and us pairing together, since our team is so great and the culture is so great because we all get along, I have a way that you can go home and you can take care of your baby and be with your kids if you'll put in some time and some work inside of this business. I have a way that I can build a different future for you. Are you willing to do that? And there will be 100% yes, if you know how to paint that vision and the insides of that business structure, so you can clearly tell them how this works. And I guarantee you, no one walks out the door on that. Who would? Why
nobody
would they?
Worth it does.
No, nobody. I mean, maybe the unaligned people will, but that's great. So I'll end it with that, and that's where we're going to get going, and this is what we teach people to do every day. And so I'm excited to continue this conversation, and thank you guys for watching, and thanks for being here.
On to part 2.
Cool.